Hey Clark, how you doing?
Good. How about you?
And you, Becky?
I'm good, thanks.
All right, so I'm just going to ask you a bunch of questions about your experience with OP and going through the program and all of this and everything you've been through. So the easiest place to start is just tell us your story. Tell about how it all started for you and yeah, how this nightmare began.
Okay. So I think it was the summer of 2014. I was 13 years old. I was kind of chunky, a little bit fat, and I wanted to get really athletic and fast and strong because I wanted to do football in the fall and be good at that. So I started doing my own workouts, like just a bunch of sprints and push-ups and just basic stuff. And
Wait.
so
Please describe the sprinting where you would run in the backyard for
that's right. Yeah. So I would do 45, 50 minutes of 100% effort sprinting in the backyard for I don't know, a good 2-3 months. That was that was crazy. And I would rest every 2 weeks or something like that. But eventually, I broke my fingers right before football season, and so I was like, I can't do any upper body stuff, so I'll just do legs. And so I just did sprints and squats all the time, every day, and it was just way too much. And I think that fall, I started getting some groin pain, some adductor pain, and just that stabbing in the middle of the pelvis. And then I went to the doctor, and yeah, so I went to the doctor, and they didn't really know what was wrong. They were like, "Oh, it's just a groin strain. We'll put you on some PT, and you'll be fine in a month or two." So I did that well into January of 2015, and wasn't doing anything. It was making stuff worse. My pain was just through the roof, and I was like, I had no hope. I was like, what? Am I ever going to get better? And
How
so
old are
they.
you at this point?
Sorry, what?
How old are you at this point? Just to put things in perspective.
I was still 13 at that point. But so yeah, so they just kind of released me, and they were like, we don't really know what's going on, so we're just gonna let you go. And so I was just kind of on my own then, and I ended up finding a new doctor who knew what OP was. He knew, what the condition was and all that stuff. And then he pretty much just told me to rest, and that was the only way to heal it. And so he told me to rest for 9 to 10 months, I think. And that started in February of 2015. And so I rested for that amount of time and was literally just sitting on the couch all day and icing my groin, and it was terrible. I couldn't hang out with my friends or play any sports, or I couldn't even walk a full day at school. I would go to school for 2 hours, and it was just unbearable. So I had to come home and sit on the couch. But the pain got a little bit less as I kept resting. But when I got back into activity, probably November of 2015, after I had rested all those months, it just came back, and it was worse. Then at that point, I was just this, I'm gonna have this forever. I just gotta fight through it somehow. And so went into I went into the 2016 lacrosse season. Oh, and I missed the 2015 lacrosse season with the OP, obviously. But so rested all the time. Went into the 2016 season, still getting a ton of pain, and that was terrible because every practice I'd come home just barely able to walk. And regardless, still played the whole season. And I thought I had shin splints then too. by this time I was 15, but thought I had shin splints too, and I was just like trying to get through those two, and the doctor was like, "Oh, here's some orthotics or whatever." So those gave me a little bit of relief, but not much. Then I went into summer of 2016. I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and get this OP thing fixed, and just see where I can go from there. So I started strength training with a guy from OSU Sports Med, and I did well with that. I got strong, fast, but it was pretty one-dimensional, and like I really didn't have, like the OP really wasn't cured at all, and I wasn't like as explosive in gains and stuff as I used to be, and like the OP was still there, still got a lot of pain, so I did that all the way until like November, I think, of 2016, and I got really strong. I mean, I could do like almost 300-pound deadlifts on the hex bar and things like that, but obviously the OP was still there. And then so in November 2016, those shin splints, I thought those were just killing me. Like I could barely walk. Like those were terrible. And so I stopped strength training and just rested again, iced them all the time. And then just kind of went light on the training, did some like jogging and all that stuff for a couple months. And that pushed me into 2017, this year, I think January. And by that time, lacrosse had started popping up, like conditioning and stuff like that. But so I went into that like pretty cold, like hadn't really done any training at all. My shins were killing me. So I did lacrosse for about 2 or 3 months, I think, and then still getting the same pain like I did 2015. Yeah, 2014, 2015. I don't know, but still getting the same OP pain. Like couldn't even bring my legs together. Like when I was in my bed, like hurt to get out of bed, like a lot of people said, and the stress or shin splints were just killing me at that point. And so I was like probably a third of the way through the season, and I went to the doctor, and he was like, or did an MRI, and I got results back, and I had like 2 stress fractures in each shin. I think maybe 3 in one, but I know 2 for sure in each. But yeah, so that was bad, and I had to rest again. Put me in a boot, and I got in the boot in I think like April 1st of this year, and I rested all of April and all of May, just like on the couch, icing again. But and that time I was like, what is going on? Like nothing is gonna help me. And so let's see, I was just kind of just searching through the internet and so frustrated because I just thought there was nothing that could help me. And then I came upon the OP clinic and watched some of like the introductory videos on the page, and I think a couple testimony videos, and I was like, is this real? Like, is this, like, I've never really seen this before. Like, does someone really have the same story as me? And so I think that's when I shot you an email, late May, I think. And yeah, and then I think we started the program, or we had our first like introductory session like end of May or maybe beginning of June or something. But yeah, and then we just started from there, and I mean now we're here. So
I remember reading your story and like the questionnaire and stuff, but it's quite something to hear it out of your mouth, like in that, like in order, like chronologically as well. Like as a 14-year-old, like, what was your headspace like like when you're sitting on the couch and you're like icing your groin, like what's your mental like outlook? What is your headspace like
Yeah,
yeah.
that was interesting. I mean, I have a really like intense personality and very type A. Like I want to just like do things super well, and I want to work hard at stuff. And like obviously I did that when I was working out for my first time, but so I just applied that to what I thought was healing, and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna be the best person ever sat on a couch and iced his groin. So I sat on that stupid couch all day and did like 20-minute increments of icing, and yeah, that got old pretty quick, and I was just like so like frustrated because all my friends are like getting super fast and strong, and I was like sitting here on the couch like skinny and like just doing nothing. So, and when I knew like I could work harder than all of them and be way more athletic than them, but I can't. So that really frustrated me. So
That is just horrible. That is really horrible. What is that like to watch, Becky?
You know, it was awful. It was awful because I think for as much physical pain as he went through, there was equally as much mental pain. Because when you are 13, 14, and 15 years old, all you do is go outside and play and run around and wrestle and play basketball. And even if you're not on a team, that's what all your friends do. And Clark couldn't even walk through a day of school. And so it was really isolating for him. But I think, too, it was hard because we couldn't seem to find anything that would truly give him hope and give us hope that there was a way to overcome this. And so I think, you know, I do give Clark a lot of credit because he will be very persistent in finding an answer. And so as we went through all this and went through this with trainers and doctors, and one of the things that is very evident is in our medical system here, everything is treated very individually. So there'd be one therapist who would specialize in feet, and one therapist who would specialize in running, and one therapist that would specialize in a groin, you know. And so we thought, oh, well, we'll fix this problem. And once, you know, he rested from his OP, and then he got his stress fractures, we thought, well, what's that all about? And so I think then after Clark found you and started to really understand what this whole program was about, it made so much sense because the body is so connected that, of course, one thing would lead to another that would lead to another. And so I think he has moved, well, we've all moved from a place of frustration, probably some depression, to a place that, like, very hopeful that this is not something that he will deal with the rest of his life. And if he has flare-ups, he has tools to deal with it now.
It's funny, like, from that perspective as well, because I think one of the first things once we started to, like, when we met up that first time and break things down, and then you mentioned the stress fractures, I think one of the first things I said, I was like, oh, you know, they're the same condition. Like, you're not going to be able to fix your OP unless you fix your stress fractures and vice versa. Which, yeah, now when you put that in perspective was probably kind of out of left field a little bit in comparison to what you'd kind of been thinking and hearing before. While I was like, in my brain, that just makes perfect sense, and that's just the way it is, kind of thing. But I probably didn't appreciate at the time how crazy that might have sounded.
It definitely took me a little bit of time to wrap my brain around it. Like, 'cause I was so hesitant to start running and to start deadlifting and kettlebell swings and stuff like that, and I was like, this is gonna hurt my stress fractures. Like, but once you just get over that mental hump, it's so much easier because you know, like what your body's doing and how to fix the problems that you're experiencing. So that, like, just getting through those like mental barriers is like really key, I thought. So
It's interesting on that. Like, you know, the main thing that I always want to do with people, right? It's like why like there's so many videos and there's so much like, you know, concepts like spinal length and like, you know, center of gravity and all these like, you know, terms. It's like, oh yeah, you're fixing your OP, but it's like you're fixing it, right? So like if I can just like if you can take away your own versions of these things, it's like, well, now you're in control of it, and if something else goes wrong, you can kind of angle or change it and fix it. And you know, it's never going to be perfect. You're never going to know as much as a therapist does, but like it's your body, and you can kind of like get behind that. And it's like, oh well, if you're willing to do the work, then I just have to give you the information, and then it's like, then it'll be easy. You'll just be able to like kind of put it all together, which I think like you just were really really good at and took to really really quickly, because it was just like, oh, we would come into a session, I'd be like, do you watch that video? Yeah. Have you already tried that exercise? Yeah. Okay, let's have a look at it. Okay, let me just change this a little bit. It was such a smooth process because you always did that. You were always on top of everything, and moving through. So when you started and you're jumping into this, and feel free to chime in as well, Becky. Like, what was your first experience like? So you jump on the spreadsheet, you start looking at these exercises, and there's just all this information, and you start doing everything. Like, what was going through your head as you started?
yeah, so at first I was like, because I had seen the testimonies, and I was thinking like, wow, I'm gonna get better, like super fast, and this is gonna be like night and day, like what I'm doing. And then I see like, oh, mountain pose, like take your feet and do this. I was like, what the heck, like this is gonna take forever. And so I'm like watching like 90 minutes of these videos, and I'm just thinking to myself like, is this like really like worth my time? And but you know, just once I started doing them, and like I'll be honest, like I hated doing those first mountain pose and public tilts and stuff. Like I was like, this is so dumb. Like, but it's just crazy how once you just perfect it, then you're like, this actually benefits me, and you just see it so much in like the next like phase of the training, because once you just master those fundamentals, it just like pays dividends down the road in the program. So
talk a little bit more about that, because I think that's a really important idea. Is like, so people get like, you know, they'll go to a physio and they get this like rehab program. It's like bridges and clams and other useless things kind of thing, but like people don't really understand this process of like, OP is a fundamental movement issue. You have something fundamentally wrong about the way you move, and so fixing that is fixing those fundamental issues and then extrapolating it out to make it more complicated. So it's like, make sure your feet connect to the ground, then do it with load, then do it when jumping, then do it when running, then doing it. Take people through that from your perspective as like someone who's been through it and had to do it kind of thing, like, and just your takeaways from it.
So I've definitely had my fair share of therapy exercises and sheets just from like the doctors and stuff. Like I could probably show you like a stack of papers that I have that are just therapy sheets.
Let me just like one thing on that as well. Like, I've never met a client who you can give a piece of paper to and then like have them come back the next week and expect them to do the same. Like, so you show them an exercise, you give them a piece of paper, you come back the next week and they show you the same exercise again. I've never ever in my life ever had, unless the exercise is really easy. Like, I always find it really hilarious because here I don't know if they do it in America, but the physios get taught to draw these little stick figures, like to represent the exercises. So they're like the little stick arm, and then the arms are back to show that your arms should be back or they should be forward. And it's like, I've never met any client who can ever look at those things and then do the exercise and come back. And it's why I like the videos are so like, so I've made videos and it'll say things in the video and I'll be doing it. And then the person will come back and will do something completely the opposite. But technically, they're doing what I said. So it's like, I'm like, you know, I can't fault you. I said that. You've just interpreted it in an exact opposite way. So yeah, I always find those stacks of paper. I was like, if someone can misinterpret a video, there's no way a piece of paper is ever going to get this done, kind of thing. But sorry, keep going. I always find that hilarious.
But I think along with those videos, the other thing that was really pivotal is when he would have a session with you and you would record him doing something and then play it back and say to him, okay, do you see this? And when you watch it on your own body,
Yeah.
you know, when you watch somebody doing that, I think that makes a difference and easier to correct.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing that the important step that I always take with that is like, can you see it? And then it's like, cool, now do it again. Can you feel yourself doing that? Once you feel it, then it's like, oh, okay, now it makes sense. It feels wrong now, and now I know what I need to do to make it feel right, kind of thing. But sorry,
I
was going to say, keep going with what you were describing there in the fundamentals and whatnot.
Yeah, so I have had so many of these stupid therapy sheets, and none of that clam, bridge, plank stuff ever works, and it doesn't really come together at all. It's just kind of so segmented, and it doesn't really have any like real purpose. So just seeing this and like seeing the first exercises, I was a little bit wary at first, like I said, but once I just watched all the videos and once I saw like the next steps in the program, I was just starting to see like how this actually came together and like how it all made sense, because taking load off the adductors and just like screwing your feet into the ground and getting your pelvis to rotate correctly, and just so many things that you would never think of while you're doing these like mindless therapy exercises from your doctor or whatever. But that was a huge difference that I noticed. So
yeah, it's a really awesome answer. It's just something I feel like sometimes people overlook the importance of that, of just being like, oh, okay, I can do something, or I can do something. And it's like when you really do it and you really kind of like commit to thinking about it and changing it, then you're changing the things that keep hurting you, and that's when you actually start to get better. And it's like, I always feel like it's like once it clicks in your head or in your body, like it doesn't matter how, like people will always be like, oh, my case is really bad, it's going to take me a lot longer to get better. And it's like, no, it's like once it clicks in your head, you'll get motivated, you'll just you'll do the work to get better, and it doesn't make it more likely that you'll get better or worse just because you're like, you know, starting from a really bad base. And it doesn't even determine how long it'll take you to get better, because if it clicks and you're motivated, you'll just work twice as hard and you'll get better really fast. But it's like that bit where someone buys in, like, and it's not just I'm buying in because I want to. It's like, oh, it really makes sense. Then it's like, oh, then it's easy. Like I'll always say to people, the minute that they're feeling pain in their pubic bone, the minute they can go do an exercise and then feel better, like even if it's not fixed, that they're like, oh, I'm like 20% not in the pain now. It's like that's when it clicks. It's like I do this, I feel a little bit better. I just have to keep doing it, and eventually I'll feel completely better. Like that to me is always the pivotal moment. Can you remember like a specific moment for you where you were kind of like where you something kind of clicked, or something was just like you were like, oh, okay, I got this now. Like this is making sense. Like I've got this. I'm gonna get better now. Like was there a key moment for you?
Let's see, I think it would be I think it would be the deadlift. Well, yeah, I think so. It was that one. I was deadlifting the kettlebell, just like really light, and I sent you the first video, and it was just me, like my back was just going like this, and so like really worked on that, tried to correct it, and then you like shot me a review, told me what I was doing wrong, and those were super helpful, by the way. And then I was just like, just kept working on it, and I stopped recording myself just so I could really just feel myself doing it, right? Just like you said, like I don't even record myself anymore just for that reason. But I just started really trying to develop that mind muscle connection, and really just trying to get the movement right. And shot you a video, and it was I think your review title was "Kick-Ass Deadlift Correction." That was pretty. But yeah, so I got that down pretty well. But I think that was kind of not the turning point, but where I really started to realize like this is like real, and this is gonna get me better. So
awesome. What was I gonna say? Just talk like a little bit more like about like how you found the video reviews and stuff, and like so. The biggest gripe I have is like when people don't send me videos, and like it's like one, it's like I include that in the price. It's like you need to send me these videos, or I'm essentially like taking your money. And then
Yeah.
the other one is like you got a whole week, like every time you do a rep when you could be doing it better, it's like breaks my heart when someone doesn't like send me a video. So like just talk through what you were able to take away from those reviews and how they helped you in the process of it.
Yeah. So they were really just, I think it was just how personal they were that really helped me, because obviously the general videos, or like the starting videos that you would do to like learn the exercise, those are super helpful because they're super in depth, and so I just would try those and try to master those as best I could, and then I would send them to you, and then you could break down like the minor flaws in my personal form that I couldn't see while I was like doing them on my own. So yeah, it was just two ways of just getting better at the exercise, like seeing the first video and doing it to the best of my ability there, and then seeing your reaction to like my personal rep of the exercise or whatever. So that really helped me, I think.
Awesome. Yeah, that's like, yeah, I feel like it's just such a good tool, and I sometimes I just worry like people don't grab that enough and understand. It'll take too long. Like it's 4 weeks into the program, and they really start to get their videos through, and it's like there's all this time you could have been doing better and like improving faster that you've missed out on. And like, yeah, so hopefully if anyone's watching this right now and you haven't started doing this with me, just like get your videos in. It's just like it makes everything better.
I think it's such a different approach because it's not, at least here, that is not a typical thing. It's not a standard thing. It's, it's a very personal.
Yeah, I describe like so two things on that. The first thing is like I feel like I'm just in people's lives, like constantly in their lives through this whole process. Like video reviews, emails, me talking it from a screen constantly at people. It's like I just overwhelm them and annoy them to the point where it's just like I just better get better, or this person's just going to be annoying me for the rest of my life, kind of thing. But it's like it's unique to Australia as well. It's not something we do here, but it's just like my OCD in that I went through this with lower back pain and just like constant pain. It's how I got into this field, and no one can make me better. And I just like I'm gonna study this myself and fix myself. But it's like to me, it's just this war of attrition. You just like you make the decision you're gonna get better, and then you just keep going at it until it gets like better. And it's like it's even better the more the more exercise you get given and the more overwhelmed you feel, it's like even better. You're just like flooding your body with all this new information. You can't even think about the pain. It's like this constant overload. But yeah, I just like to think it's just my OCD, like just being like, no, you will get better, and I will drag you through this if I have to, kind of thing. So Becky, give us your perspective as you're watching kind of Clark go through this process. Like how was it for you, kind of watching him kind of go through this and go through the ups and downs as he's kind of doing the rehab and whatnot?
It was nice because I could just like go in the basement and lock myself in there and see nobody for a good 4 hours. And that was
yeah, we left him alone.
Yeah.
I think we finally felt like we were slowly seeing the storm clouds move away, and the sun was coming back. But, I think it was cool because it fit very much with his intense personality, and it was really challenging at the beginning doing all the really minute stuff and learning how to breathe differently and just all of those little things. So it was challenging for him, but it was good because it kind of filled his brain with positive forward motion and not feeling like, oh, I'm going to do this and it's not going to make a difference and I'm never going to get better and this is going to, something else is going to hurt, and so.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because when you say like you sat on the couch with ice on your groin, on your groin, it's like literally like the opposite of what I would ever do for an injury, like ever. Like it would be like sit and do nothing, like unless something tore, like physically tore, kind of like like you rip something or something like that. And even then, I wouldn't ice it. It's like the idea of sitting still and doing nothing like breaks my heart inside. I think like considering your age, like I think if it didn't work for you, I think we can categorically now say that resting does not work to fix OP. Like, Greg, I've seen hundreds of cases, but if a healthy 13-year-old boy can rest for 9 months and he still can't heal, I don't think any human being is going to heal if a 13-year-old can't, kind of thing. Like, this is the thing I always come back to with this view is, it's like, this is the point in your life where you shouldn't have to worry about things being sore. Like, you should be able to be stupid and go run in the backyard for 40 minutes, and it just literally doesn't matter because you're so young that you can get away with it. And then as you get older and you try and do the same stupid things, that's when you generally find out that's not how your body works. But it always seems so unfair to me that you'd have to go through this at such a young age, because it's like, well, no, this is the point where you shouldn't have to think about this kind of crap.
Yeah,
hopefully.
And I think part of that was the struggle for the doctors too. They were like, we haven't seen a kid this young who has done this much, and they didn't really know where to point him. And then he was growing too, so that was stretching everything out.
Well, it's funny because when we first came in, I was like, "Have you grown? You look more filled out since the last time we met." Yeah. All right, we should wrap this up because I've been taking up way too much of your time. But so last couple of things. So take the thing I always ask people this at the end. But Clark, take people through kind of if someone's in the situation you were in, just spending maybe having this for months or years kind of thing, and really starting to give up hope, and so they kind of come across my website and they're thinking about doing this. What is the message that you want to give them about starting this process, but what you've learned across the way that allowed you to make sure that you got better and kind of and made sure that you got over this?
Yeah. I wouldn't put one over the other, but the two things that I would say would be attention to detail and just being persistent. Because I know there were some points in the program where, kind of in the starting stages, where I was just like, okay, I'm just going to get this done. And, just kind of that old therapy mindset, I'm just going to do the exercise and it's going to help me. But, no, you actually have to think about what you're doing and really just, focus all of your energy on that one thing so you can correct it, and it will just make a huge difference. And once you do that, then you just have to keep working super hard at it. When you think you've done enough, just do more. It's.
Wait, is that a direct quote from me? Because I feel like it is.
No, probably, but yeah. But no, yeah. The two things that I would say are just persistency and attention to detail, because that's really what I believe just kind of just pushed me through this. So
probably good advice for life in general as well. I do remember when your dad was I was just you were like, how much should I do? And I was like, you can do as much as you like. And I was like, when you think you've done enough, just do more. And your dad was like, you shouldn't really tell him that. He just won't stop. I was like, that sounds great. Keep doing that. One more thing I would actually like to ask, something we were just chatting about earlier before we jumped on. You were just describing that tryout you went to and how it felt versus all those kids you'd played before, and you were blowing by them and stuff. Just talk about how good that felt and just that process, being at the other side of this now and being better. Talk about what it was like being back on the field.
Yeah, it was definitely pretty cool because just seeing how much that I've changed in the past couple months just through this training. It was just really eye-opening, and sorry, I lost my train of thought. No, it's crazy because I never thought when I was hurt and when I was still playing but I was just in a ton of pain, I was thinking I'm never gonna be able to, I could be better than these kids, but I can't put in the work right now because I'm hurt and I just can't do anything. And so getting out there last week was just so like encouraging for me because I saw that like I did put in the work and I can put in the work now and it will actually pay off and I can get better than other people. So that was just really cool to see. So
So was it like, so were you just like blowing by guys and stuff? Were you just having fun?
yeah, I mean I was super nervous because that was like the first like intense game that I've like played in a really long time. But it was a lot of fun. So
Awesome, awesome. I was gonna say, thank you so much, guys, for doing this, and I'm sorry for taking up so much of your time, but I really feel like, especially your story and what you've
yeah,
kind of been through, I think it's such an important thing for anyone who's kind of watching this and going through it as well. Just like, it's funny because OP does not seem to discriminate. Like, it gets people all ages, all genders, all types, all body types, all sports kind of thing. And yeah, especially anyone who's kind of younger and going through this, which, I haven't had a lot. I've had like a young soccer player who's like 18 who's had it, and there's been a few younger people, but yeah, it seems to get everyone. But the process is the same whether you're young, whether you're old, kind of thing. And yeah, I just think it hopefully, like, anyone who's going through this can definitely take a lot from what you've been through.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much, guys.